I'm Larry King. See you tomorrow night. Stay tuned for Aaron Brown. Good night.
This is a CNN special report. America under attack. Hanging on to hope at Ground Zero.
If anybody has seen my brother, please give us a call.
Looking for my older nephew. He's 28 years old. He was on the top floor on the first hitting.
Families of the victims gather in grief. What does the United States do next?
It's a new kind of war.
But a war against whom?
Candidate who resides in that region. Were you speaking of Osama bin Laden?
Yes.
U.S. skies reopen. But as Americans try to return to normal, will normal ever be the same?
Looks like they are now evacuating the House of Representatives.
And standing strong in America, joining hands and hearts in the heartland. This is a CNN special report, America Under Attack. From New York, here's Aaron Brown.
Good evening again. It is now more than 60 hours since the massive and devastating terrorist attack hit this city and Washington, D.C. Surely these are the longest 60 hours in American life. It feels more like 60 days. But in these hours, we have seen our national landscape change dramatically, New York's landscape change permanently, and who can measure how our hearts, our sense of well-being has been altered as well. There is much to report in the next 2 hours. We will take you through the day and the night where things are now, the events that have taken place all day long, and we will look ahead at how the government may strike back and whether that strike, whatever it turns out to be, will have the desired end, and end not just to the people who committed this atrocity, but to terrorism itself. Here are the latest developments tonight. The Justice Department has identified 18 alleged hijackers. Secretary of State Colin Powell points the finger of blame directly at Osama bin Laden. A flight data recorder has been recovered from United Airlines Flight 93, which crashed in Pennsylvania. The FAA cleared some airports to open, and one person was arrested at New York's JFK Airport for having a false identification indicating that he was a pilot. But we begin first at the Pentagon. Another fire is burning there. We suspect this is a residual fire of what had been going on before. You can see the firefighters at the scene pouring water on the building that was damaged when the plane hit it Tuesday morning, and so many people perished. Again, this fire going on now at the Pentagon. We are not precisely sure of the source. They have been fighting the fire at the Pentagon really for 60 hours, and they continue to fight it still. This going on now in Washington, D.C. As we go along on the streets of Lower Manhattan tonight, as surely you know, the search goes on. It is a search that's being hampered by unstable buildings and by a fast-moving thunderstorm that is heading towards New York City. The faces of evil. Investigators believe they have identified the people who carried out the terror, but the search for those who helped them goes on tonight. And in Washington, the State Department all but says it was Osama bin Laden who backed the attack. So what do you do next? How do you catch? How do you punish a terrorist? And we will spend some time tonight looking at the country itself, its slow struggle to return to normal or to find some sort of new normal. There is a lot of ground for us to cover together. We are inside this evening, off the roof that has been our home for these long days because of the bad weather that is heading to New York. Heavy rains, high winds expected to hit, adding one more miserable element to the problems rescue teams face as they desperately try to find survivors. CNN's Gary Tuchman begins our coverage tonight from the streets near what just 60 hours ago were the magnificent towers of the World Trade Center. Gary?
Good evening to you, Aaron. Small fires continue to burn. Smelly, smoky clouds continue to drift over Lower Manhattan. And more than 1,000 rescue workers continue to try to look for survivors. But the rains are coming. They're expected to be heavy tonight, and that will present major problems. I can't tell you enough how widespread the damage is at the site. The rubble of the World Trade Center complex looks like a mountain range. At some points, it's 75 feet tall. The streets in the surrounding area look like the Blitz from World War II. There are 3 buildings surrounding the World Trade Center complex, which are said to be structurally unsound. There are fears of the possibility of collapse, and that's making the search much more difficult. 150 to 200 other stores and businesses that aren't part of the World Trade Center complex are also destroyed or damaged. Now, there is also debris everywhere. One of New York City's oldest churches, St. Paul's Chapel. It's a chapel and also an old cemetery. There is debris, refuse, rubble all over the church. Now, no survivors have been found today. We are looking right now inside the World Trade Center complex towers. This was video shot by a passerby with a video camera today. And you are looking at the deep hole right there, what workers have to contend with on the scene. It's very emotional for many of these people who've been there. For the 4,000 or 5,000 people total, there's about 1,500 at a time, but 4,000 or 5,000 people total who've been there say they've never seen anything like it and hope they never see anything like this again. There was some celebrating earlier today. 5 firefighters, according to police and hospital officials, were rescued from the rubble. But as it turned out, these were not firefighters who were there since the collapse of these buildings. These were firefighters who fell in the rubble earlier today. When they came out, it was assumed by many of the people on the scene that they were in there since Tuesday. As it turned out, they were just recovered from slipping through earlier today. That in itself is good news, but the fact is no survivors from this terrorist incident have been found today, and that's the bad news. But there are rescue workers on the scene who we've been talking to who are still convinced that there are people buried alive.
It's really frustrating because you just want to go in there and start tearing things out, ripping them sheet metal. The sheet metal workers are doing it, the steel workers are in there, the pipe fitters, everybody, engineers, Con Ed, I mean, just everybody. And it's frustrating because you have to stop. You hear whistles, signals for you to stop because they think they hear a sound, a movement. They'll stop. I mean, total silence. And, you know, and it might be false alarm, or if it is, you have to, people are so buried down there, you have no idea.
That rescue worker, Joseph Lopez, told us that he found parts from the United and American Airlines planes that crashed into the World Trade Center. He says he turned over those parts to the FBI. He also says he found a Raggedy Ann doll. And he says that find broke his heart. Aaron, back to you.
Well, I just let these pictures go a bit for as long as they do. That is certainly the first best look we have had at what that all looks like, and that is just, that is remarkable, stunning stuff, isn't it? I mean, these office buildings, and then you get to those outside shots. I mean, you got to remember there were 50,000 people coming to work, and their buildings blew up under them and then collapsed. And look at that shot, down to that. My goodness. My goodness. At the other end of that search, there are tonight hundreds of scared and desperate people hoping that a missing loved one somewhere in that wreckage is still alive. It's hard when you look at to imagine it. 4,500 people listed as missing, more than that. Many of their family members have come to an armory in New York City looking for help. That's where Elizabeth Cohen spent a very difficult and emotional day and joins us again tonight. Elizabeth.
Aaron, we are still here. They are staying open all night, 24 hours here at the Armory on 26th and Lexington in New York, where families are coming to register information to find out about their loved ones, to find out if they are on a list of people who are in hospitals or a list of people who are dead. If you look, you also can see there's an impromptu prayer group going on. That is what that circle of people is. Like everything here, it is completely spontaneous. Someone said we are a band of brothers and sisters here today, all hoping for the same thing, hoping that our loved ones are among the ones who are still alive. They have been hearing reports that people have been pulled out alive, and they are hoping that theirs will be one of them, or perhaps they're one of the John or Jane Does who are in the hospital. One woman said, "I can just hope that she's in a coma, so that's why she hasn't called me." Those are the hopes that people are feeling today as they register information, as they bring in dental records about their loved ones. We are here with a woman who is looking for her best friend. The woman who we're here with is Becky Lothan. She's looking for her best friend, Julie Geis. Now, tell me about the last time you heard from Julie.
Julie and I flew into New York on Monday. Tuesday morning, she went to work in the World Trade Center. About 10 minutes to 9, she called me to let me know that she wasn't in the building. That was the first building that was hit by an airplane, but she saw that airplane fly into the building. She wanted to reassure me that she was okay. And at that time, I didn't have the television on, so I turned the television on and said goodbye, and about 10 minutes later, her building was hit.
So tell me again what you talked to her between the two explosions. Right. Tell me again what she said to you.
She said, "I want you to know that I'm okay. I saw the plane hit the building." She thought it was an accident. And she said, "I just called to let you know I'm all right." And that was the end of that. That was the end of the conversation. And I turned the television on, and then about 10 minutes later, her building was hit.
Can you hold up the picture of Julie for us?
Sure. This is a picture of Julie. Julie's an Aon employee, and we're from Kansas City, and I came up with her, and we were going to go to a Yankee game and a Broadway show. Julie's originally from Nebraska. She has 7 brothers and sisters and a mother and father. If you see or know anything about Julie, please call this number.
So you were both from Kansas City.
Yes.
She was here on business.
Yes.
Can you tell me, when you went into the Armory, was it organized? Were people sympathetic?
It was very wonderful. It was more than I ever expected. It was a lot of people, but it was very organized, and people were very helpful. They had food and water, Cokes, anything you would want. They were very, very nice.
You said it changed your opinion of New Yorkers.
Yes, it did. The last time I was in New York, it wasn't really like that.
Hold up the picture of Julie still, because we want to make sure that she's seen. Tell me about the trip that the two of you.
In January, Julie and I are going to Hawaii for a couple weeks. So that'd be a nice thing for her to tell people when she gets out of this mess, that, you know, that she was here. It'd be something to talk about. I've Aon Online, the company she works for, has been very helpful. They keep me updated. Everybody in New York, I've talked to the police department several times, and people couldn't be nicer.
Tell me about Julie. We can see from the picture how beautiful she is.
Yes.
Tell me what she was like inside.
Julie was president of a nonprofit charity organization in Kansas City called Voice. It was Women with One Voice. She gave a lot to charity. She was on a lot of different boards. That's the kind of person she was. Unfortunately, Julie would have probably been the last person to leave her floor. She would have made sure everybody else was out before she was out. She's a very strong and tough woman, and if anybody could come through this, it would be Julie. So I have a lot of hope that she's going to be okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Continue your search for Julie.
This is the number. If you see Julie, please call this number.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's talk now. There are 2 young women here who are looking for fireman Bob Cordis. You are his girlfriend. Tell me about what you've been through today.
Well, for the past 2 days, it's been really hectic. I work in Jersey, so on Tuesday I was stuck there. I had no phone service. I couldn't get out to anybody. I was trying everywhere, hotlines, hospitals. I couldn't get through, and yesterday I made it home at around 12 o'clock, and we've just been waiting for someone to call. I've been speaking with his mother, and we've just been waiting for somebody to call for us.
And tell me about, he was a fireman.
Yes.
He took risks all the time, didn't he?
He just got transferred to Squad 1 in Brooklyn, and from my recollection, he was one of the first firefighters there. So I didn't hear from him Tuesday morning. I know I spoke to him Monday night, and he had told me that he was going in Tuesday morning. So I'm just waiting for him to come home.
Thank you. Thank you. Tell me what he was like.
He was a very, very strong man. He loves what he does, and he also worked in a bar, and he just